Hi, hello, and how are you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Emerging Elite Podcast. On behalf of all of our hosts, happy holidays. Today's episode is an awesome one as we have two outstanding coaches joining us today on our panel, along with our normal host here, including John Kegel, who decided to make an appearance today. Whoa!
Thank you for having me.
Right? All right. So if you're new to the show, here's how it goes. We're going to start off with our warm-up lap, which is a couple of questions brought to us by our guest today. Then we'll go into the wheel of topics and let fate decide what we're covering that day. When we'll finish up with a little bit of a cool down and then get you on your way for all things track and field. So on your marks, get set, let's go.
Coach Megan, pole vault.
Coach Romano, sprints, hurdles, jumps.
John, this would be your part.
Sorry, been a while. Coach John, distance.
And today, joining us, we have two outstanding guests. First, we have James Lugasland, who is Bridgewater Raritan High School volunteer coach, level 3, level 2, level 1 instructor. And we've got Adrian Bazemore, who is former football player and sprinter and Olympic development, sprint, and combine prep speed coach. Gentlemen, thank you guys for joining us today on this episode. We're really looking forward to this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right. To kind of start us off here with the warm-up, we asked each of you to submit a question to help us get going. And by virtue of just randomness here, the first question that we have is this: coaches, what are some absolute do's and don'ts that you stand by as a coach? Meaning these are the things you will say absolutely not, or these are the things that you're like, this is a must.
James, go ahead.
Do's and don'ts. Definitely keep a pretty rigorous practice schedule. I would just say, you want to make sure you maintain the structure. And also just make sure you're documenting sets, reps, times, depending on what event area that you're doing. And really just making sure like you're keeping everything going in a concerted direction. Don'ts, I would say, don't just, I don't know, like the best thing I would say is don't just keep it, rotisserie or like cookie cutter as always. Definitely explore and always research. A big part of being a coach is being able to research and grow and adapt your coaching, education, and ability. And I would just say you always want to keep your mind open to new or different strategies that can help your athletes, both short-term and long-term.
Adrian, what about you, sir?
All right. I'm going to sound like the old man yelling at the cloud right now. So just letting you know. So, all right, here we go. The do's. Do's, I will teach. It doesn't matter because some of you don't know. I work with all sports, not just track and field. I work with slow, uncoordinated softball and baseball kids. Yes, I'm throwing shade at them. So that being said, galloping, you will gallop. If I'm training, you're going to gallop. Marching, you will be marching. Yes, at a slow motion pace. I should explain. Marching is nothing but a slow motion sprint. That way I know exactly what technique I'm trying to teach you, whether it's Jamaican, cut the calf, it doesn't matter. Those are techniques I'm going to teach you. Ankling, everyone has a different version of ankling. I understand it. So, and depending on the height, the weight, the kid, the sport, everyone will ankle. Cycle throughs, again, depending on the sport, depending on, however, the sport, what I'm trying to accomplish. If you need to steal a base, if I need to dunk a basketball, that's what we will do. Sleds, I do like sleds, but I like sleds on the chest. I don't like it on the hips because it pulls your hips back. So I want your hips forward. Still with the do's. I like short to long. Why would I teach you how to run a 40-yard dash, 10 meters, 20 meters, steal a base, softball, baseball, when your first 3 steps are all jacked up? Why would I teach you that? That doesn't make any sense. That's why I like short to long. Also, a do. It's more of a football thing. A couple of my NFL guys. If I don't see it on Sunday, why are you doing it on Tuesday? Meaning Tuesday they'll have these stupid ladders, these stupid parachutes, these high-speed treadmills, which do not work, and we'll go to that later. Why are you doing that? You're never going to do that on the football field, tennis court, track. You're never going to do that. There's not something on Amazon or how can I say Google or anything. There's nothing there that's going to make you fast. You need to do what naturally comes. God made you a certain way, a certain height, weight, and everything for a reason. Use that. Stop trying to order off the internet. It's not going to work. Those are the do's. Now, did I lose you guys so far? Are we good?
I love it.
All right. The don'ts. All right. Here's one we're going to make some people mad. Don'ts. You will never, ever, 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 ever see me do wickets. It will never happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Perfect example. All 6 of us, different heights, different shapes, different sizes, different everything. Okay. None of us are going to have the same height, speed, hit the ground different. So why would I set it up, say, for Coach Folks? Megan is not going to be the same stride as Ramil, is the same stride as, perfect example. I've known 4 people that gotten hurt trying to do that. Why would you do that? Number one, you're looking down at the ground. It's a human reaction. If you see something in front of you, you're going to look at it. Number 2, why would I need to get your foot down on the ground faster? God invented gravity for a reason. You're going to come down. Don't worry about that. Thirdly, there's 3 different techniques that I taught. I was blessed enough to learn the Jamaican style from some guy named Asafo Powell. He might ring a bell. No. So it's like, instead of, perfect example, when Shelly Ann Fraser Price, she took like 50 steps or 51, I can't remember. Why would I want you taking 75 steps around 100? That doesn't make any sense. No, you're just going to burn the engine. No. So yeah, so you would never see me do that. And trust me, I'm not the only one that said this. Don'ts. Bounding. I know some people like to do it. If I can't remember if Megan or Ramel said they have gymnasts or gymnastic background. I can't remember. You have to remind me. But if you're on a gymnastic floor, great. That's awesome. But I know so many kids, because I'm working with a lot of long jumpers now, it hurts. Now, bounding hurted me. Why would I have you do it? There's other things you can do besides bounding. It's like the risk to benefit ratio. Meaning, what's the risk, what's the benefit? It's like, yeah, bounding makes you explosive, but if it's hurting, why are you doing it? Just gallop. There's 1,000 different ways to gallop. Some guy named Randy Huntington, who's touched me, he's working with some guy named Christian McCaffrey. That might ring a bell. Just gallop. That's all you got to do. Let's see. Long to short. I'm not doing it. I'm not running repeat 800s, 600s, 400s. No, because we all know you get around the 300, 350 mark. Your arms are going to be doing this. You're going to be swimming, holding on for dear life. We already know this. You're going to be leaning back like this, praying to God, like, why am I doing this? No, contemplating your life. We're not doing it. Skips for height, skip for distance. I don't mind it, but again, it does not translate to your sport. Just gallop. No, you're never going to do that in the game. You're never going to skip for height to try to duck a basketball or go volleyball. I think it was one more. No, that was it. So hope I didn't lose anybody.
Do's for pole vault, keep a journal. Keep a journal, because you're always progressing in pole vault. You want to remember what step worked, what height you were holding on the pole, where your standards were, what bar you were at when you cleared it with that pole. Because in pole vault, you probably go through 5 to 6 poles in one competition. So you need to know, what is your baby pole? What is your warm-up pole? What is your pole for 12 feet? What is your pole versus 14 feet? Because you don't want to be jumping on one pole for the entire competition. Well, so you're going to tire yourself out before you even get to that PR bar. And then a don't for me would be, don't immediately go on your biggest pole that you've been jumping on. Don't be afraid to use those smaller poles for warm-ups. Don't be afraid to have a smaller pole for a bar that you're opening at. You want to save your biggest and stiffest pole when you're at that PR bar, when you absolutely need it to fling you in the air. That was my 2 cents for pole vault.
Okay.
I guess I'll go. Mine are pretty general. Dues, I'm kind of like Adrian. We're going fundamentals all the way. No matter you're a freshman, whether you're a senior, 5th year, it doesn't matter. You've got to hit those fundamentals. The big don't for me is I don't do anything that I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm not going to do it because my coaches did it when I was an athlete. I'm not going to do it just because I saw it on the internet. I need to know why, what it's going to do for my kids. So don't just do something to do it.
John?
So dudes for me, come from distance. A lot of people, all they do is long, slow mileage. That's all they're doing. You got to be sprinting. Like, a lot of people are limited, by how fast they can sprint. And in a lot of races, like the 1500, you're on a straight line. You literally have to have acceleration mechanics or you're behind on the first step. They throw their arms back on the first step, you're already one step behind. So and then I do max velocity stuff, flying 30s and stuff like that, so people can, have good bounce off the ground. So definitely a big dudes for me. They hate it, but it gets them a lot faster. And then they're like, thank you, coach, later on. You just got to buy into it for a long period of time and you see some crazy results. Mm-hmm. Don'ts for me from distance running is medium running. Somewhere between easy and tempo, I would call medium running, unless you're doing marathons or maybe halves or maybe some 10K people do it. If you're at a certain level, I'm not a fan of it because it's making you tired for the stuff that you need to be quality. Like, why are we wasting our energy doing a medium run where you're getting minimal return versus, a high quality workout like a tempo, fartlek, something with jogging rest, whatever it's going to be you're trying to do, 5K pace, something. You just be tired for that. And you might get injured if you keep doing medium runs all the time. I've seen it play out.
That's fair. I think for me, my dues, and this is important because, this podcast reaches all levels, not just like the elite and not just the beginner level. If you have the ability to, you have to be doing over and underweight training in the throws. You have to do, especially when you're doing your powers and your beginning pieces, you have to be doing strong stuff, right? We're trying to push heavy things far. You need something heavy to give you that resistance to really make you work for it. And when you start to get fatigued, you need to not have the ego about, well, I'm just going to keep doing this. No. Switch to something a little bit lighter that's the same size so you can work on the speed piece so that doesn't fall off. Don't want to train your muscles to do something slow. And that's the other part for me is I don't like, and I will probably upset a lot of throws coaches with this, I'm not a fan of the heaviest weight, slow movements. Give me something that's more explosive, dynamic. Give me something where we actually have to move. It's the same reason why I don't like doing a lap or two as a warm-up for a thrower. Unless I'm a jav person who's probably going to need some endurance piece to keep going down the runway, my event is 3 seconds long, if that. I need to be able to be explosive and powerful for 3 seconds. That's it. Beyond that, I'm wasting it. Again, jav being the exception. So that would be, some of those pieces there. I think the other thing too is don't put everyone in the glide or the rotation just because it's all you know. Mm-hmm. So many times do I see people who are like, well, that's all I know. That's all we do. And that's just what we're doing. And it's like, well, that's great. Not every kid is a glider. Not every kid is a rotator. Sometimes the people who are gliding should be rotating. And they start to think, well, but I'm throwing farther now. It's like, well, you're throwing farther now because your technique is better. Mm-hmm. Because things are getting better. You're getting stronger. It's going to happen when you throw with a rotational too, once you get that down. But not every rotational athlete should rotate either. There are some coaches who are like, well, Krauser's doing this, Kovacs is doing this, all the elites are doing this. That's great.
They're elites. There's a reason,
They're elites,
yeah.
But they're also elite gliders too. Mm-hmm. I think it takes that unique combination of just super fast twitch muscles, explosive raw power, right, to really make a glide effective. And then if you're coordinated, you can get away with less explosiveness and still make it work and be competitive. But look at Ryan Krauser. Ryan Krauser is a slower rotational thrower, and he's the world record holder, right? If he had the same speed as Kovacs had, we'd probably be talking about somebody throwing 80 feet with a 16-pound ball, right? But he goes the speed he can control and he can handle, and he can deliver the most amount of force in because it's what's best for him. You see and James, maybe you can help me out with this one. The German shot putter.
David
Stoll.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a world full of rotationals, he stuck with the glide. And he was still an elite level guy, right? Now, some can make an argument that maybe that passed him by and now he's just kind of in his own area. But you ask anyone, he's still elite. Same with Valerie Adams from, from New Zealand, or Michelle Carter when she was throwing for the US, right? Still elite level shot putters. So it doesn't always have to be a one or the other. Do what's best for your athlete.
Mhm. And I think another thing too is what I hear a lot as well, especially in the high school world, is in our program we choose quality over quantity. I know there are coaches out there that are like, no, you got to hit all the reps, but it's like if you're not hitting the reps appropriately, like, are you really? Is it really benefiting you? Is it really helping you? And that's like, especially in pole vault, like that's such a hard time. Like pole vault is so mental that like the kids are like, please let me get one more jump. I don't want to end like that. And I was like, honestly, you need to end like that. I know it sucks, but in pole vault, you can hurt yourself if you keep going and the jumps just get worse and worse, you know? So teaching them that sometimes you're not going to end on the note that you want and you have to accept that and move on. That's
Well,
hard for
and
athletes
this goes
too.
right back to what James was saying about it not being cookie cutter.
And I think it applies to the sprints as well, because sometimes, like, if they're doing tempo stuff or they're doing speed stuff and they look bad, it's our job to be like, hey, like, you're done. Like, let's not continue to run where we as coaches know it's just not what it is. We need to be able to, like he said, not be cookie cutter and change it up, change the workout, or be like, hey, we're done for the day. I got enough of what I've seen, or I've seen enough of what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Even and this is a little bit more throw specific, but there might even be a level of that in the jumps as well. I want to paraphrase it. I don't want to quote Coach Judge, but there was something that he said that resonated with me. For throwers, you can typically see your best throw in a practice setting in that 12th to like 14th or 15th throw range. And then you're going to start to see a decline for the rest of practice. So you get a little bit of that build up. You know, if you're a rotational shot putter, you're going from like a wheel in and stuff like that to your full. But then you're going to start to see that quality go down after that 14th, definitely by your 15th throw.
So for clarification for our people at home, that's the 12 to 14th or 12 to 15 full throw, right? So if you're doing stands and half turns, or is that just 12 to 15 throw regardless?
The way that I interpreted it, it was about regardless, give or take 12 to 15, but it also matters like, you know, the intensity in which you're throwing. Are you having like a, for example, like kind of like a mock meet with yourself where you're trying to mimic it? As well as, you know, are you using a lighter ball to, you know, kind of like counteract that adrenaline rush or like compensate for that adrenaline rush? So like, for example, if we're using, say you have a 4K shot putter and you're practicing with a 3.5K, that lighter ball is also kind of simulating a little bit what it's going to be like in a meet. So you can get some data from a practice if you're leading up to like a competition. You know, if you're throwing about here, give or take, you should be about that with the 4K in competition when you have that adrenaline rush going.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Poole, when we went to the Emerging Elite Camp, he said for the vertical events, it's roughly about 10 jumps is what you'll see in an average competition. And after that, they're usually out, or that's when they reach their peak. And I take data of all my jumps at my pole vaulters at their competitions, and the data didn't lie. I would say my average with my high schoolers was about 10 to 12 jumps before they were finally out of the competition. And that's kind of another reason why I collect the data, is because personally, when I was jumping in high school, I always opened up at 7 feet because I knew I can always clear that bar. And I always wanted to make sure I never no-hided. I hated the feeling of no-hiding. And then as I became a coach and I developed more, I realized like I probably could have pushed myself and opened later and still cleared the bar on my first attempt and not waste energy at that PR bar. So that's another reason why I collect data, is because I feel like you need to show your athletes like, hey, you're clearing 8 feet on your first try every try. We're going to bump up your opening height so you have more energy for those PR bars as well.
Adrian, do you notice anything when you're doing workouts with your sprinters, like, or just any of your athletes, that there is a set number of like in the reps that tend to be that's kind of our good window range, or no?
Oh yeah, 100%. Again, depending on the sport, I'm a weirdo. because I was trained by some guy named Randy Huntington, and Randy Huntington's a little wacky, but that's okay. He knows this. So, and plus my coach Daryl Gatson, everybody yells at me because I have ties with Alabama. He was on the 1980 World Team with Alabama, the boycotted World Team. Long story short, maybe about 6 to 8 reps pending because I've been hanging out with long jumpers too long. No, they're a little crazy too. And I noticed that instead of doing straight sprints, I won't do like 3 sets of 30 or 6 sets of 30 or 40, 50, 60. I won't do that because again, hanging out with Randy Huntington, like I'll do like maybe 220s or 230s. And then I might have him do a set of gallops or a set of pogo jumps or something like that. And translation, making them hit the ground different. Now, Megan, I'm sure you do, especially with your vaulters. They got to hit the same thing. They got to hit the ground different. So they might get about six good reps, maybe 8 good reps or something like that, pending. And like I said, I won't put a number up, but the minute I see them decline, I'm like, all right, go home, goodbye. And I'm sure we all know kids get mad, like, no, I can't end like that. Yes, you can. Just give me a light one, go home. You're heading downhill, bro. Just go home.
Yeah. John, what about you? Is there anything in like the distance world that's kind of similar?
Well, I don't know who told me this, but I never lost it. It was from something USA track and field related stuff. But they said, are we training workhorses or athletes? Like, are anybody can make somebody tired. Not everybody can make somebody a good athlete. And I think that's a quote that I never forgot. So, I'm in the distance world, so people want to run further. They only want to run easy. They want to run just long and far. That's it. They never want to do anything else. That's just a no-go for me. So, so those are some things that are pretty important to me. Like, everything's got to be quality. There's no reason to go in, for me in the weight room, like, most distance-minded people are saying, you're going to go lift a lot of reps. Well, they already do that. They already do a ton of reps all the time. So they need to be stronger. Their tendons got to be stronger. They gotta be able to hold certain angles in their legs and stuff like that. So, and hold posture. So, that's not going to come from doing reps of, sets of 15 or 20. It's going to come from lifting a little heavier and faster, depending on what you're trying to do. So, get your nervous system right. So, yeah, definitely a lot of things. I'm definitely a quality over quantity guy, and I pull people all the time for decrease in performance.
Also, sometimes it's better to have less is more.
Yes. And that's so hard for athletes to recognize too. They're like, oh, I didn't finish the reps. And I don't think I really learned that until my senior year of high school, because my asthma always took effect into like those harder sprint workouts. Like, even as a pole vaulter, yes, I shouldn't be running like 300s or 400s, but in reality, like, sometimes I just needed to get the distance in and I need to learn to hold my speed. And I would have my asthma attacks, and then I would be upset that I had an asthma attack and be like, well, I didn't get to finish the workout. And then in reality, I'm like, well, I pushed my body that hard to where I had an asthma attack. So yes, it wasn't the best, but I obviously did something to where I kind of pushed my body beyond its boundaries in a way.
I think that's where we come in as coaches, is we have to explain it to them, like, yeah, this is what happened, but understand why we're doing it. And also have that balance of that athlete that might know you're going to stop them so they don't actually do it, but still make those kids do it, but have the balance that are actually trying, like, hey, this is why I'm doing this. I don't want you to continue to go do this badly and get worse and then create that as a habit.
Oh, yeah. I have stepped on my runway before with an athlete that did not want to shut down, and I will stand on the runway and they'll start their approach and I'll still stand there. I was like, I know you're not going to hit me. You're not going to. And it'll make them shut down. They're like, coach, you didn't flinch. You didn't move. I was like, yeah, because I know you're not going to take up this jump with me on this runway, because I need you to shut down and be done. I don't care how upset or pissed off you are at me. I know it's not going to happen.
I had a coach tell me once that it was more for injury because of me being hard-headed. But he was like, you can hate me all you want. I'm okay if you hate me, but I'm not going to let you make that mistake. Hate me all you want. I'll be the person, you can cuss me out all you want, but my answer is still going to be no. And so that's why I tell my athletes all the time. My job is to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to. You get better, you stay healthy. So if I have to make the decision and you hate me for it, I'm okay with it.
Well, and sometimes it's not just the physical health, but the mental health too.
Oh,
You have an
yes.
athlete that gets too far in their kitchen and they just can't get themselves out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had an athlete once that got so worked up, they were just kind of yelling and screaming because nothing was going right, nothing was going their way. It was like, all right, deuces, we'll see you tomorrow. It's like, no, I need to do this. No, you don't. You need to go home. You get your head right. Like it's like, but if I don't throw now, I'm not going to throw well in the meet. Sure, you will. You're getting all this energy out now. You're going to be nice and relaxed tomorrow because you're going to have nothing left. So then we can really get back to the work at hand, right? But again, some of that has to be that mental piece too. All right. So our next question coming from our awesome panel of guests here is what changes or improvements would you like to see in coaching education? Gentlemen, do you guys want to kick this one off?
Megan looks like she can have a field day with this.
I mean, you already know, like when I went to the emerging elite camp, no knock on USATF whatsoever. I didn't know what it was going into it. I thought it was more like convention style to where like we got to pick like what classes we wanted to go to and stuff when I signed up for that camp. And I thought they were just asking like what event group you were so they can see like what event groups they were hitting and what event groups like they need to like focus on more. So, as most of you know, because we met on that day, when I introduced myself to pole vault at the first meeting and everyone is all like, ugh, and I was like, what is happening? Realizing that like it's not out there a lot. Like I am very much self-taught, learned from a lot of books and stuff that I've read over the years and doing the event myself. And there's going to be coaches that disagree with me, and there are coaches that may agree with me, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not going to say I know everything, but I feel like I have a system in place that works, and from time to time, I do need to fine tune it. But in pole vault, the biggest struggle is poles. People not having the correct poles. And I think that is the huge misconception of being a pole vault coach is you got to learn how it works properly for a kid or else you can really hurt them. So I have gaps in my inventory, no doubt about it, but I really need to know how I can make that pole work without it being unsafe for them. And that's what I've slowly have learned over the years is I've learned that it's okay that it's a big pole jump, but they can only hold to a certain degree until they take it deep into the pit.
That's fair. Now, when we talked about this question, we brought it up. Adrian, you were shaking your head. So I've got to imagine that you probably got some lumps of coal to hand out this holiday season for this.
Oh gosh, where do I start? I was at a meet at Eastern Michigan. I'm sure a lot of people know Donald Scott. He's a two-time Olympian jumper. He trains at Eastern. My buddy Cam he made USA jumps for long jump. Donald made it for triple jump. And of course, I'm there watching those guys, learning everything. And I walked over. I can't remember the two schools, but it's a habit. I walk over to sprints. I'm a sprinter. I walk over to blocks. And I heard these like 4 or 5 coaches say to several teams, like, all right, when you get out, I need you to push your heels back on the track. Wait, what? Hold on, dog. Why are you're going? No, you're going that way, but you're pushing back that way. What do you mean? And I turned to the guys and I turned it down on the cam. They were like, what the heck? I'm like, $5 says they lose. Sure enough, they lost. No, I'm like, what are you doing? Everything should be in front of you. Why are you pushing back that way? And I said, watch, if these girls run to 200, they're going to have hamstring issues. Sure enough, about 125, 150, they grab the hamstring. What are you doing? Yeah, stop.
So then is that more or less a piece where we need more like meet day specific coaching education, or is it just the level of coaching education just wasn't reaching these coaches for some reason, and maybe it's accessibility or
all of the above? That's all I got. All of the above. It's yeah. I mean, granted, I have to. I say it 1,000 times. I'm not a product of everything I learned. I did not learn in a classroom. I was blessed. I had 2 Olympic coaches that coached me, and I have 3 Olympic coaches, world record holders, that mentor me. And I'm blessed enough I could just text them anytime or call them anytime if they're not busy. And a lot of the times I ask the kids, and these are like D1 kids. I mean, I won't say the name of the school, but like MAC Conference, Big 10, Big 12, SEC. And I ask them, like, hey, so what sprint technique are you using? And they'll literally look at me like, wait, what? Sprint technique? What do you mean sprint technique? I'm like, what style are you using? And I'll name off like 4 or 5 of them. And they're literally like, this sounds familiar, but he doesn't teach me that. I'm like, that's why you're stuck at a 10-6, bro. No, what are you doing? No. So yeah, it's amazing how, so.
Okay. James, what do you have to say about coaching education and the changes that, or improvements that could happen?
Well, it's kind of a loaded question since I teach level 1. One thing I'll say is this. Obviously, with the pandemic happening and then all the level 2s and level 1s going to remote, obviously you want to keep the education going at that time, but in the same breath, you're kind of like everybody's struggling to like figure out what do we do? Like seasons getting canceled. How do we like continue to move forward when we have all these restrictions without spreading the virus? The one thing I can say is I think having that, how do I put it? And I think Adrian said it or alluded to it pretty well, like having those like connections, having that water cooler type of talk, which is one of the things that I think is really cool about emerging elite. Like you have coaches from across the country and it's like a melting pot while you get to learn from like some of the top coaches, not only in the US, but also globally. Like Mo Satra was there doing the level, or I think he did emerging elite this past year, if I'm not mistaken. And, he's doing a lot of great things with Alekna, with Cameron Rogers, just to name a few. And it's just like those types of programs are really great to help, enlist new ideas and like also reaffirming like some of the old things that we're talking about too. Like, we want to talk about fundamentals, all that stuff, but we also want to talk about new ideas and new strategies. So I think at least those types of programs, I feel like are a great melting pot. And I think reinforcing like some more of that in-person stuff, I think is a really key aspect into continuing coaching education. Because, I'll also be transparent with you guys. Like a lot of the experience that I've had is from coaching mentors. Abe Flores, who is a legend in New Jersey at Monmouth University, he's done outstanding things when he was at Monmouth University. He's no longer there, unfortunately, but he's doing well. But he had a profound impact on my ability to be a really good throws coach. He had a profound effect on his athletes at Monmouth and even athletes that were post-collegiate. One of his greatest successes was Monique Riddick and what she accomplished. And, another major mentor that I've had is April Smith. April Smith coached on the world national team. She was the throws coach for the women at Budapest in 2023. And I believe she was the national team indoor coach at Worlds this past winter. And I had those opportunities to get to know them, obviously through the grapevine, but also going to level 1 and level 2 in person. And I think, Adrian's absolutely right. Like having those mentors are really important. And I think also networking, having some of that, conversation by the cooler or like a social, like those are also important. But I also believe that that's one of the beautiful things about level 1 and level 2 in general. Like you have a conglomeration of coaches from across the country come together, learning together, but also building a network. I mean, literally, a lot of us here on this Zoom call.
Literally this podcast,
Where did we all meet? We met at a USATF event. We met at the Coaches Association. And that's one of the beautiful things about those organizations and like the programs that they offer. Like they offer those opportunities to come together and let's learn. My hope is pushing the level 1 back to a little bit more in person. No promises, but that's the hope that I have at least. And then on top of that, like continuing to make the level 2 the best that it can be. And obviously, the coaching association has great opportunities as well too. And like they do a phenomenal annual meeting, just like USATF. So those are just some ideas that I have, but I think bringing back that in-person, or like reaffirming that in-person aspect a little bit, and then like trying to branch it off would really make a lot of great things happen for coaching education.
And like, I would say those were the best times of those coaching clinics too, is, James, you and I, we're level 2. We go way back. And like, we talk to each other outside of class, text each other, get off ideas. For Belle, Sean, John, like we hung out at Emergent Elite till like 3:00 in the morning after all of our classes at the end of it all, just to talk and hang out. And I think I always told myself if someone ever asked me to present at one of their clinics and stuff, I would make it more of a Q&A. I feel like coaches have a general understanding of what they know, but they just need to run their ideas past someone, or they want their 2 cents on what someone else thinks about it. And they don't have the clientele, I guess you can say. They don't have the knowledge like we do, they don't have anyone else to really bounce off the ideas that they necessarily, I don't even want to say trust, but just someone that they believe that will listen to them and like take in their 2 cents and mentor them. Because in reality, all of us mentor each other. We all go to each other in our special events and we'll ask your 2 cents on how you do in your respective events. And I think that's what's more needed in the world too, is I always tell even my college athletes, I'm like, if you don't quite understand what your coach is saying, send me your videos and I'll try to explain it in a different way for you. Because that's another thing about coaching too, is you can say it one way, your athlete may not understand it. You ask someone else to describe exactly what you're saying, but they say it in different words and your athlete will grasp it. So it's not the fact that they don't trust you as a coach. It's sometimes you just need a different perspective to understand what they're trying to get their point across. So that's how I would do if I was ever asked to present something, is I would make it more of a Q&A than anything.
I agree with the Q&A, and I said that because especially when you're learning something, when I was doing level 2, when I took the jumps one, we did a lot of video analysis, and we sat there and watched everybody's athletes. I think that's important because I felt like you said this, what does this mean? And it was more of a Q&A. Like they gave us the breakdown of everything, which was appreciated because I was learning it. But then with the events I didn't know, so I was learning long, I was learning triple, I was learning high jump, I was learning pole vault. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. All these words you're telling me mean nothing to me.
Without the video, without the backup.
Yeah. So we literally, after we spent 20 minutes on each jump or whatever, maybe more, I don't remember. And I was like, oh, I get it. You said this. I see it in the video. Mm-hmm. And they weren't like necessarily the elites. They told us to bring video of our athletes. So I'm looking at my athletes. I'm looking at other people's athletes. I'm like, it's making sense. So I think, yes, that Q&A, but also do a lot more video analysis in these courses. Because I'm a visual learner as well. So like you telling me all this and your notes and your slides is great. I'm not going to remember squat diddly because I didn't see it happen.
I do agree on that as well. We did the same thing at my level 2. And that definitely helped a lot because it's like, yes, I know the basics of long and triple, but yeah, seeing it is different. And that's what coaching is all about, is you're watching their form. You're using your coach's eye to coach them. So you need to improve your coach's eye. And how can you if you don't know what I want to say properly, because obviously every body looks different and stuff like that and how they move and their mechanics. But in reality, like, what are the basic conceptions of the movement that you need to look out for?
John, what do you think?
I think any sort of schooling or any sort of certification is only half the battle. I feel like it's a starting point rather than like where you should be looking to finish. You start there and then you just, like Megan said, just use your coaching eye. I started in Florida. I can't use the same exact concepts here where I am in Athens, West Virginia. So it's snowing out right now. I got to look around and be like, can we run this pace? Like, is the track, frozen? Like, I don't have, those issues in Florida, obviously, but I have heat. So if I just listen to what I was listening to in a book, there's no way that I could have, succeeded in both scenarios. So yeah, and you just know your athletes. Like I have athletes that are really, really tough and they try to hide things. You just got to be able to look. And like, I feel like a lot of coaches aren't looking. Like they're just, at the meet, they're talking with the other coaches. They're not watching the other jumpers jump. They're not, watching the other throwers throw. Whenever I go to a meet, I'm like, hey, you see the guys who are winning? What are they doing? Like, and, the guys in our meets are not, Ryan Krauser, so we don't have to worry about, some fancy technique, that they shouldn't be doing. But like there's similarities when you start to look at the people that are winning and, you want to be more like that. So, I learned a lot in my level 2 and my level 3 USA track and field. I was blessed to have really good instructors. I'm a science nerd, so my degree's in that and my master's was in that. And I was a personal trainer for 3 years before I became a coach. So I've seen like a lot of different things before I started with USA track and field. So I feel like real life experience is always going to be the best way to go about it. But the coaching certifications and stuff is a good starting point.
I agree with that. Partially. So like a lot of the things I learned was also going to other coaches, like you said, those in-person stuff, going to their practices and be like, hey, what are you doing? Why'd you do this? And then he'd be like, all right, athlete, go do that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I think it is a lot of that real life experience. Or if I'm at a meet and a coach says something, I'm listening to the cues, like you said, of what they're saying. I'm like, oh, that's a good cue. I see why you said that. Cool. All right, I might use that and take that away and use it for mine.
I've definitely taken stuff from my bachelor's in kinesiology and applied that to coaching as well. Like, and that's not even just, it's just basic biomechanics, like how the energy systems work, so exercise phys and stuff like that. I feel like learning about the ATP PCR system also helped me tremendously in a coach as well, and realizing like what an actual rest ratio should look like for some athletes and stuff like that. So putting that into play as well in perspective has helped me tremendously too.
Well, I think John put it in the chat. He said, only thing I remember from one of these topics was Coach Sean Venable saying the best coaches are the best thieves. And I
1000%.
agree. Like I love that one. I mean, seriously, like there's no need to reinvent the wheel when you don't have to, right? Now, that being said, though, for purposes of this question, what changes or improvements we'd like to see, I think level 1 should be almost a year-long thing.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
I think it should have 4 checkpoints throughout the year. And it should be bookend by in-person meetings.
Okay.
That is my thought. So like you're gonna come in, you're gonna do this stuff, and you're gonna get to meet these people face to face, get kind of the basic pieces, but then you have 2 more checkpoints throughout the year that you can do virtually or have modules, and now you have people that you've put names and faces to someone that you can go and say, hey, like we met at the thing, like I know we were talking a lot about this topic here, or that topic there, and then at the end of it, you can come back together and say, all right, what is it we've actually learned? What do we feel we're still missing here? Because the level 1, level 2 manuals, I mean, they're fantastic. They're filled with information. But part of why USTF CCCA does their thing is because there's more than just one way to do things at times, right? And so there's not we shouldn't do it always the same as you said, James, cookie cutter, right? I feel like sometimes there was the need to say this approved thing because it's the approved thing versus saying, yes, we know that there's multiple ways to do this. So building off that, right? When you show up to level 1 or you do like your virtual stuff, you should have to bring videos of athletes you're working with.
Yeah, I do.
And let's use those instead of the cookie cutter of like, hey, like here are these elite level people, but maybe a good quarter to 30% of the coaches in here are not going to work with the elite level people. They're working with like the smaller, medium high school kids or whatnot. And while the elite level principles can certainly help, they're more effective on elite level people. Like I remember sitting in one of the USTF CCCA meetings with, I think it was Mo, and he was talking about the hammer throw. And I'm like, this is great. Like, but you look around the room, and these are all people who potentially could have these elite level people. And I go and I sit in on another one, and it was about shot. And I was like, boy, like there are a lot of what look like relatively young or beginner, coaches in one of these, and you just look at the blank stares and you're just like, oh, you're talking about all of these scientific principles and the degrees and the if you will, forgive me, biomechanic physiology terminology to cover everything, right? Because because everyone can understand that, or at least hopefully they understand that. But I think it assumes that your audience is at that level, and not every audience is, right? Like if you go to state associations when they do coaching conventions, like when I was in Michigan, we had MICA, and MICA would do their state associations, but they tend to bring in the same people every year. So now for like 7 or 8 years, you'd have the same group of throws coaches listening to the same talks, and they're not getting better, right? So some of it rests on the associations to do those pieces, right? And to like go and get other people and to bring these things in. But going back to like a USATF piece, I think level 1 should be that multi-tier piece. I think level 2, I was part of the first group that was doing the online, and while it was okay to do it online, I was really looking forward to doing a lot of the stuff in person and going and having to do the drills myself and having to see what these things like and experiences were like. Because I think for a lot of us, doing it is one of the best pieces to help us learn it, right? To understand what they might be feeling or going through. And then level 3 for me, I think is another one of those, like, it should be a bookend experience where you're going to kind of have this like meeting point here and a meeting point here. And maybe it doesn't have to be all at the Olympic Training Center, right? Maybe it can be, all right, well, your group's mentor, if you're like a throws person, they're in Indianapolis. So everyone's going to Indianapolis to meet with that person at the end, right? Like, I mean, it should almost be if you're gonna say that like a level 3 is, paraphrasing, a doctorate of our sport as far as USATF is concerned, right? If you want to like level each of those things off into like a different higher educational degree sort of thing, then give us a chance to not just do a project, but to defend it.
Yeah.
Talk about the reasonings why, like have to explain what we've gone through and why we have. And I understand that the level 3 projects certainly do that, but it's one thing to put it on paper, right? It's another thing to have to stand by it. Just like we did in the last question where it's your do's and your don'ts. If you're not willing to stand by and defend what it is you're coaching, then who's to say that's the path you should be taking? Who's to say you shouldn't just go with something else?
And here's another thing. I believe everyone in this podcast right here, right now, can attest to this too, is the biggest piece that no one talks about, and I feel like there's no education out there for it, administration duties. How do you build your roster? How do you recruit? How do you fundraise? I feel like there's nothing out there for that. And I think that's a huge part in all of our roles, regardless you're assistant, regardless if you're a head, regardless if you're a volunteer. Like, I think that's a big learn as you go. And as a first, like when you're first year head coach, like that sucks. I don't know about any of you, like John, Ramel, Sean, James, like you guys could talk about it. My first year as head coach sucked. I wanted to quit left and right. And it wasn't the fact that I didn't know what I was doing. It was just, it was rough stepping into that role, because the bigger side of it was the things like I knew the administration side of things. I knew how to fundraise and stuff, but the extra steps of, oh, your kid got in trouble at school today, you need to be called in to explain like what's going on and stuff like that. And then dealing with like the parents and the high school aspect and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, but my child should be doing this type of, like there's just so more to it that I didn't realize is a part of my role until I actually stepped into that role. And that's the missing piece.
So perhaps that should be its own thing then, a USATF director of ops or head coach, like coaching education certification, to say, if you want to be as far as USATF is concerned, you should do this, but also puts you on a list of potential people to make national teams, world teams, because you're now certified to be able to do those things and handle those things at various levels. Ramel?
I would
And
love that. Because
they
right
can
now,
split that.
I'm in that position. I'm in that position literally right now, trying to figure
Yeah.
out, hey, because this is my first years ahead. I'm like, what do I do this? How do I do this? When is this due? So I'm texting my friends. I'm texting you guys. I'm texting people that are already head coaches. Hey, what do you think about this? When do I need to do this? I don't understand this. What the heck are they talking about? Or talking to my AD. It's kind of like, now granted, like my former head coach, he helped me a little bit, and I'm still texting him. But things like that, I'm still trying to figure out. So I definitely think there should be ways like, hey, instead of, like you said, it's a learn by doing, and I'm hoping I'm doing it right. I think I'm doing a decent job, but like I'll never know.
Yeah. And they can split it into like high school, college, or even youth, because youth is such a different beast too. You got all those different, I don't even know all the levels of youth because I don't know youth like that, but you probably got like 6 different teams all under one umbrella. So it's like, how do you manage that? How do you practice for that too? So like, there's like, gaps definitely, and it should be more than just about our sport, but overall just basic knowledge of how to pretty much like a business, like it's a business in reality.
Well, and if it's going to be a business, then maybe a USATF sponsored strength and conditioning course as well.
There, that part. I'm
Like,
sorry,
I
but
mean,
that part.
if we're going to talk about the pieces that we need to be able to do, like administratively as well, this is another one where a lot of programs need to have these coaches have a strength and conditioning certification or background to even be in the weight room with their kids, depending on the level that you're at. But I don't think it hurts us to be better prepared to help our athletes prevent injury and to be successful, not just in our sport, depending on level, but just in general.
And that can also be into subcategories too, because like there's pole vault related weight training stuff that I do. There's throws related stuff that you do. I'm sure there's distance related stuff that John, like all of us in our subcategories too. Yes, we have the basic squat, bench, deadlift, clean and jerk. Yes, we have the basic movements, but there's also extra little bits that we all do to strengthen our specific event. So, like
Yeah,
an example for me, I use the bar. I will do a curl and a press, but act like the bar is a pole. You know, so they're holding it like a pole. They'll do the curl and then they'll do the press. No one would ever think of it like that. They're like, oh, just do bench and you'll be fine. But it's not just a bench movement, you know?
So let me ask this then, and I think I've already got someone that's going to tee up on this one, and not to create a hubbub with strength and conditioning coaches out there, but yes, they can help us build strength and be conditioned for our sports, as the name suggests. But what about the speed piece? What's missing? And my friend Adrian, what exactly could these strength and conditioning coaches be doing to help them with speed?
Come to a track practice, come to a track meet, come to USATF, come to, I mean, listen, I know everyone here is all politically correct and everything. I'm not politically correct. You're freaking idiots. I'm not correct. You guys should know this by now. They don't know jack about sprinting, especially, y'all know I'm from down south. Well, all we do, I grew up to the era of like, okay, we get in an argument. All right, me and you we're going to run to my mama's car, or we're going to chase, to my aunt's car. That's what I grew up to. Strength. And then I happened to move to Michigan, and there's like, hey, I want to see bench press this. I want to see, can you lift this? And I still get it to this day. I can lift more than you. Dude, you can't catch me. I don't care. No.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, and it's like that's all. I mean, 90% of them. Well, okay, 99% of them are meatheads. Don't get me wrong. There's exceptions to the rule, though. But yeah, trust me. I know most collegiate coaches have this argument all the time. It's like, I was at the track meet Friday at Saginaw Valley. The kids, I won't say the name of the school, but the kids was like, dude, I put on 15 pounds. I'm like, why? Is it because strength coach is doing this, doing that? I'm like, dude, no. It's like, kid ran a 48 in high school. He barely can break 50 now because, and I'm like, oh, Jesus. And again, I'm not politically correct. And I hope they heard me. He's like, Angel, what am I doing? I'm like, your coach is an idiot. What do you want me to do? I can't sugarcoat it. So it's like, why? And he told me who he was training with. I'm like, go back to him. So yeah, they need to just come and hang out with us. Basically, that's yeah.
Well,
Okay, go ahead, James.
no, like it's funny that you mentioned that, Adrian. Excuse me, because so I help out at a local high school here in New Jersey, but I'm also the throws coach at Kane University in New Jersey. We're a D3 program. And I was brought in specifically to help with our throwers, obviously. But we're back. This is our third year as an NCAA program again. We had about a 10, 15-year hiatus.
Ooh.
And right now, we have 3 strength coaches on staff.
Oh,
But I need to tell you this.
already sounds like a hot mess. I'm sorry.
No, it's far from that, believe it or not, because the thing that I appreciate most about our coaching staff is the openness and the discussions that we have prior to putting out a mesocycle for the student athletes.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, go buy a damn lotto ticket. You don't get that anywhere, James. You won the lottery there.
But seriously, like our head coach, she's an outstanding athlete, coach, even better human being, Coach Todman, and our strength coaches, Patrick and Nick. Yes, they are like working with them has been phenomenal over the past 3-4 months. And our athletes have benefited from that. And not just our throwers, but everybody on the team as a whole. Sprinter, jumper, hurdler, distance runner. And you can see that with a lot of the progress that the program has done from year 1 to year 2. I'm excited to see the progress that we're going to have from year 2 to year 3.
Yeah.
But the big thing to piggyback off of Adrian's point, I think the communication piece is the best way to go about it, because you need to have that communication and open understanding to really synergize the training for the athlete. And that's one of my biggest things that I've enjoyed with this program. And I think it's possible to do that. I think it's, in some places, it might be harder than others. But if you're a track and field coach and you have a strength and conditioning coach that only knows such and such, but you know the specialized specifics of the event, that's where you guys have to come together and have like a kumbaya moment. Because that's a big piece in getting the best training possible for the athlete. So, just my 2 cents. Sorry.
Well, I said this, I agree in this, and both of you, like, you need to have that communication, but I also think they do need to come out there. So I remember a few years back, I had a strength and conditioning coach. He wanted to do, I think it was called triphasic training. And so he wanted to work on eccentrics, only eccentrics at one point, then go to only isometrics, and then maybe only concentric. I might have the order wrong. But either way, I was like, at no point in our sport am I only doing eccentric stuff. Only doing isometric. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's not going to help us. And so, like, luckily we communicated, and I was like, yeah, I just plan, so we're not doing that. And he happily agreed, but I think it's that communication, but we did something different. But I do think they don't understand, like, that's not how our sport works. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, you're going to hurt us. But all that was, there was like I said, it wasn't focused on speed either. So I was like, where's this happening? So I agree with both of you that you need that communication, because they don't necessarily understand our sport the way they think of football or maybe basketball.
Right. But even just understanding, to your point, Rommel, like, even in the throws, for example, there are certain like modalities and methods that, like, for example, everybody, and I'm going very basic, very general right here, and I'll use kind of like maybe a touch of a football reference, but like whenever you think of a thrower, you think of them as this big beastly guy or woman who's got this really, really big bench press. Okay, great. You got a ridiculous bench press. What does that do in terms of helping you move the shot, move the disc, move the jab, move the hammer? And it's just like, how do we add more of the functional piece to it? And that's where that synergy, that communication has to come between, like, literally, and I think somebody mentioned it previously, I don't know if it was in the chat or verbally, putting the egos aside and let's say, hey, let's come together, make this, and have it go. And with the strength coaches that I have, and I don't also want to come out with defending every last strength and conditioning coach, but the ones that I have that I'm working with and that are working with me, it's been great so far. And I know at times there could be those like issues where it's like, well, this has worked for me in the past, I'm going to stick with that. It goes back to a little bit of the do's and don'ts that I mentioned prior. You don't want to just cookie cutter it and that's it. You want to have more of an understanding. You want to get a little bit more research and understanding out there, because also keep in mind, strength and conditioning coaches, they're not only looking at personal fitness, but they're looking at not just track and field, but a plethora of sports
Programs.
So
Yeah.
you got to look at it from a bunch of different things. I'm just saying, like, to Remel's point and Adrian's point, like, communication, like, see and look at something. Like, I'll even ask sometimes at one of my prior positions, I would even ask the athletic trainer, hey, what do you see with this athlete? And let's talk about it. Like, I feel like it's also an important piece to Adrian's point. You know, they need to see what's going on and like show up and have a discussion, like egos aside, the whole 9 yards. So sorry to cut you off, Remel. My fault. I'm sorry.
John, I want your insight, because at your former, you pretty much did programs for all the sports, including yours, right?
Repeat that again?
For John. This is for John.
Oh, for John.
Yeah, so there was a situation where both strength coaches quit at the same time in my old school, and I was the only certified person with my CSCS. And I had a good relationship with a couple head coaches. I was the assistant coach at the time of the team. And the swim coach asked me, they said, hey, you know your stuff. Can you go coach us through the end of the season, through the conference championship and national championship for like 2 months? And we did it. We won a national championship in the relay, which was pretty cool. Random little thing that happened. I had also coached the baseball pitchers. Now let's talk about put the ego aside. I have never, ever done any strength programming or coaching for a baseball pitcher. This is one of the most complex things that you can do. And it's like, if you mess them up, it's your ass. Sorry if we're not on a curse. All right. But like you're screwed. Like if you mess them up, especially if they're the prized possession of the team. And there's a lot of baseball pitchers and only a few of them actually pitch. And I went straight to the pitchers and I'm like, what are the do's and don'ts? Like right off the rip, I was like, y'all have been in this for a while. Like I am just getting started. I'm not going to let my ego hurt you. Like I know what's at stake. So let me ask the question. And they respected me a lot for that. And they went 8-0 in the beginning of the season while I was coaching them. I'm just going to say, I'm going to put it to the side. But if I would have done it my way, it might not have turned out in a positive way. So,
and that's another thing too is, okay, my strength and conditioning coach is also one of my track coaches. So he knows what the workout plan is. What is it like for you guys in the coach college? Like, does your strength and conditioning coach know what the sprint workout is that day and take that into consideration for their training? Because I feel like that has a huge play as well, because in our program, we take that into consideration. Hey, we went heavy on legs on Monday. They ain't doing Tuesday legs at all. We're going to work on upper body, So I feel like that's also big, again, a part of the communication, but I think is vital for the sport and injuries aside too.
So I'll be very realistic right now. I'm going to say exactly what occurs. But there's one strength coach here. They've never had a strength coach before this. One strength coach. He works with football. He works with everybody, every single team. One strength coach. The chance that he's going to like actually see eye to eye with me on every single little thing in my particular situation is impossible. The headache is not there. Now, if I see something that's, a no-go for me, like for sure, we are not doing that, I'll say it. Like, but for some other things, if it's they didn't lift before this. So like anything they do is going to be a little better at this point in this year. But moving forward, we're going to have to specialize a little more and it's going to get a little trickier. But I've kind of put myself in a situation where I kind of took over it to some extent. So we're in a better spot now. But definitely it's a little like James, I think it's fairy tale land for me personally. It's not going to happen where I can have multiple people to bounce ideas off of. And I got to have a little trust because I'm only one person. So
So
in the future, maybe not so much, but right
I
now,
think my follow up for you, John, just so people at home kind of have an understanding. So you said that there's stuff that you have to do on the side. Does that mean you're doing a push in? Because colleges usually is a class they have to register for separately for weight training, right? Is it like that at your school?
oh, we don't have a class for that.
Okay, so at my college, we had a class for it. So, like, when you're saying that you're doing stuff on the side, like, are you doing it during your practice of what they missed in the weight training session, or are you like pushing in on those weight training sessions and incorporating what they're missing because of what you see?
So I guess like because I was a personal trainer for 3 years before I was a coach, I can kind of see if it's in running like something with their form, which muscles and which patterns are not correct. So I kind of can see the similarities in the weight room. So if there's something that's very serious, like I'm gonna interject, but a lot of them like they're just weak in general. So like they need to like these are distance runners. They hate lifting for most part. Like any lift, and obviously like not horrible form, like ruining your back or something, but like, any lifting is working their core, working simple movement patterns that every single human should be able to do. like, but I actually asked, because I was being realistic with the situation. And I said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going to have lift. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday is when I orient some of my days around that to make them easy days really easy, and the hard days are a little harder. So they'll actually get true easy days. But it's not going to be perfect. Like there's not speed days and heavy days. Like it's not perfect, but it definitely could be better where I'm at.
Okay.
But I'll answer your question too. And then Adrian shook his head too. Most strength and conditioning coaches have no idea what we are doing as track coaches. Again, I'm lucky where I have a say in our strength and conditioning coach is like, hey, what did you guys do? How did this work? How do they look like? He kind of cares on how they're doing, so I have a say in it. And then I kind of give my opinion on what we want to do. But every school is not like that. I've had some in the past when I was an athlete where the track coach and the strength and conditioning coach were like, hey, they were going head to head. Like, we're not doing this. Yes, we are. No, we're not. So I think it also depends on where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think sometimes too, like I've certainly run into my fair share of strength and conditioning coaches who don't view track as the sport. They view it as like this extra thing. And so they're like, well, I'm just, I mean, you guys are just athletes. You run, you jump, you throw things. I mean, it's pretty basic. I can do it. It's like, okay, you try telling somebody that has a 16-pound ball and a 3-foot or 4-foot long metal wire spinning at high rates of speed, how they're going to be able to use what you're doing in the weight room to help them throw that as far as humanly possible. And it's like, well, why would they do that? Because that's our sport. I mean, it's the same argument I get when I talk to people about how many coaches should be on a staff somewhere. Is like, well, the basketball team has like 6 coaches. Mm-hmm. Okay. But everyone is on the same field at the same time or same court at the same time. They're all doing roughly the same things: dribbling, passing, shooting. What else is different? Nothing. They're all doing the same thing. But our sport is spread out across a 400-meter track, and then maybe if throws aren't in the middle of God knows who, where, right? Around Jack's barn or something. Like, I remember there was, what was it? Murray State, right down in Kentucky. Their throws area, when we looked at going to a meet there once, was like a mile away. And it's like, you're going to have to like bus kids over there while the rest of the kids are at the meet doing their thing.
Yeah, I believe that. When I was at Shorter, the throws facility was 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
So if you did both events, you had to shuttle or drive your way around. So, yeah.
And so it's that fundamental lack of understanding of the needs of the sport, right? Just kind of like it is in the weight room when it comes to some strength and conditioning coaches. I'm going to be a little more politically correct than Adrian, but with some, okay. But I certainly think it errs more on the people that don't know what we do than they do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time, as always, to get into our awesome spinning wheel of destiny. For those of you, again, who are not used to this, we've taken our topics, we've thrown them on this wheel, and we let fate decide what we're about to do. Oh, goodness. I think everyone should just have the spinning wheel up, right?
Yeah, I see it.
Outstanding. All right. So we're going to go ahead and give it a spin here.
What's the topic today, Gil?
Oh, we already did
Oh, we
that
did
one.
that.
I had to make sure it was on the wheel just in
You
case.
know,
I had to make sure it was on the
it's
wheel.
speaking into existence. It was supposed to be in this episode. It's
It
okay.
was supposed to be in this episode.
Yeah. So eliminate, move on.
Watch,
I
next
swear,
one's going to
you
be.
get the second topic.
It's going to be the other one, and it's going to be like it's rigged. Ooh. Okay.
Oh, what is something you loved about a previous team you were on?
Yeah. This question is brought to us by the Skin Deep. Skin Deep is a conversation card deck for allowing individuals to have deeper, more meaningful conversations. So if you're looking for a better way to be able to connect with coworkers, friends, family, team building, which is where we get one of these from, make sure you're checking out the Skin Deep online. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is something you loved about a previous team you were on?
I know I usually start us off, but this is
Nope,
hard.
you don't get to this time. Nope.
Oh,
you're
okay.
Nope.
I'm Dan.
You always do it. Nope.
Hey, is this a team you were on or a team like you coached?
How about team you were on?
I feel like it can go both ways.
You
Because
don't get to talk yet. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it can be a team you coach too.
Okay, I'll start. I'll do a team you coached. Okay, so I think there were a few things that were special about that whole situation because they believed before the results were there. I think that was something they believed in me as a person, as a human being, to get them to where they needed to go. And they could see how much I was grinding. Yeah, I had to work extra hard to get them to believe like I was doing the training at the same time as them. All the training they were doing, I was doing the exact same thing from scratch. No training for 8 years, like from scratch. And they watched me do it at 3:30 in the morning. And they were like, dang, we have practice at 6 in the morning. We can't complain, can we? So, there was definitely a lot of, blind faith on their part. And over, a couple of years, we got to see some pretty crazy results. We didn't have a track. We didn't make any excuses. There was a girl that went all region in the steeplechase. We didn't have a track, let her go on barriers and water jumps. And she went all region, and, a guy went 346 in the 15 just using 3 cones on the sidewalk every day. That's the kind of stuff that they did. And they were very adaptable and didn't make excuses. And, that's a very valuable thing for somebody who's trying to be an athlete at a high level, make a championship, and not only make a championship, become All-American. You got to be able to adapt to certain scenarios. And we watched that play out. It was really cool over a couple of years to watch that.
Nice. Okay, Megan, you can go now if you want.
okay, I want to say, I know, I'm always the one that wants to talk. I'm sorry, y'all. It's just who I am. I feel like this is hard for me because I've only been on 2 teams as an athlete, my high school and then my 1 year at JACO. And then I have coached at the same school since 2013. Now, the way I'm going to describe this is I'm alumni of the school I coach at. So I have seen the program change over the years. So I'm going to talk about things that I saw when I was an athlete versus what I see now as a coach. I think is the best way for me to answer this question. Okay. So as an athlete, my favorite thing yes, there were your cliques, but your cliques weren't within your event groups like how it usually is in track and field. I was best friends with the throwers. I've honestly learned throws because I always hung out with the throwers. Pole vault throws don't have anything in common, but I learned a lot from watching them, and those were like some of my best of my friends. And then
yes, we do. We're the redheaded stepchild that you're.
Okay. Anyways,
we also have the best snacks.
that part. That part. But then come to college, lo and behold, who knew that I would be a pole vaulter and a javelin thrower? Never in my days, but I did that in JACO. Didn't think those two would ever come hand in hand in one time in my career, but it did. And then from a coaching perspective, I would say what I love the most is how I don't know in your guys' programs or what it's like in your states, because we're all in different areas as well. But I would say that in my program, I have seen the kids push each other more than ever. And it's not in a bad way. It's a very much, I care about you. I'm going to listen to you. Hey, I'm going to come to you for advice type situation. And they're just building and helping each other out. And I think that's what I love the most about track and field is like, it's not a team sport, but it's a team sport at the same time, you know? And that's where it gets tricky because it's like, no, we don't all need to be together to win the meet. But in reality, the points add up. So we are still working together, unlike basketball, football, baseball, you know?
You kind of took my answer. So I was going to say kind of the culture of the teams that I've been on. It's kind of, we helped each other out. We called each other out. It was kind of like, you want this, so get your crap together. Or like, hey, what's wrong? You seem off today. And again, that was across event groups. The throwers talk to the jumpers talk to the sprinters talk to the distance runners, and vice versa. And so I think it was that, hey, how are you doing? Hey, what's going on in class? Let me help you. Hey, you're struggling today. What's going on? Are you okay? Hey, maybe you need to go see the trainer. I think it was that kind of culture, but also again, calling each other out like, that was trash today. What the heck are you doing? You're being lazy. Or hey, that was really good, and vice versa. So I think those are the teams, whether I've coached them or been on them, I think that's one of my favorites is that we can call each other out. We have that culture where we know exactly what the expectation is, what everyone wants to do, and we stand on it.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian, James, if you guys want to jump in.
I'll let Adrian go first. He was nice enough to let me go first earlier.
See, teams wise, remember I played two sports. Football wise, I trained. I played semi-pro, so of course I was a corner. So of course I was always the fastest out there, and it was kind of fun. But I was only running about a 4.6. And so, remember, Coach Folks, I told you I was older, and my dad kept saying I was getting frustrated. My dad kept saying, "He's like, why don't you go back to track?" And I went back to track, started training at track, and then I also started training at MSU because remember I ran unattached. And then I go back to the football field and I ran circles around them. I ran about a 4.37 electronic. I'm like, this is easy. I'm running down everybody. I'm looking at them, literally laughing, waving as I run by them. So people were getting so mad. I'm like, yeah, run track, fool. Little did I know, I ended up a track coach. And then of course I trained at Michigan State for like 5, 6, I forgot how many years. And that was absolutely fun. But then it's one of those where I found out how collegiate athletes work, especially at the Power 4 level. Money wise, everything else. Back in the day, we got 2 shirts, 2 pair of shorts, and a stipend for playmakers and a pat on the back. Now these kids I get Snapchats from them, and it's ridiculous how much they get.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to train at Eastern Michigan. Yeah, dude. Eastern Michigan, I trained there for a couple years. This is before Eastern even had their dome. I'm like, where's the football team even trained? They're like, outside. I'm like, in November? He's like, yeah. But again, it taught me where it's not where you at, make the best of where you are, you know what I mean? Because now Eastern has, they got a big dome and everything where they can train. And obviously we're still cool to this day. But yeah, it's little did I know it did lead me to this path. But yeah, I absolutely love my training at MSU and Eastern.
James?
So this is kind of like, I don't know. So it's kind of like a 2-parter, but it's connected in a way. So when I was an athlete at Montclair State, we didn't have a throws coach for 2 years. Our head coach did the best that he could. By my senior year, we were able to get another throws coach, and he was great. Pier Paolo Mancarella. He's Mancarella. Sorry, my Italian's not good. But he was an outstanding coach that had an impact on all of us. But during those 2 years where we didn't have a coach, we were coaching ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we kind of, not like a written pact, but it was kind of like an unsung pact. We were going to do every last thing we could. It was like the vibe that I got out of it. It was like the 85 Bears defense. Like we were going to do whatever it took to be the best that we can be together and wreak havoc within the NJAC. We had Monique Riddick, who was D3 at the time. Yeah. We had Eugene Asimu, who 4 All-American honors in the shot put. We had Mario Morrison Bird, who held the discus record for years and years and years. You had John Tanzer, Dave Helterbrand, like the list goes on. Then you had little old me trying to figure out the glide. Anywho, long story short, we had arguably one of, if not the best throws groups in the NJAC throughout my time in there. And then I go into coaching while doing my master's. I'm at NJIT at the time, and I get the opportunity to go back to Montclair State, and NJIT is a D1 school. And there were a good core group of throwers there that kind of carried on the legacy. And when I came back, it felt like I was able to like pay it forward from that old era where I was there and really continue to push them forward. We had a javelin thrower by the name of Leah Negra, who was a national qualifier twice before I got there. She got All-American honors, but she would just be like limping into nationals. She would be one of the last qualifiers. We had a thrower by the name of Merrick Sandville, who in the weight throw at the prior NJACs, indoor NJACs, only threw 9 meters. We had Rob Malillo, who is a really good javelin thrower as well. Like, the point I'm trying to get at is you look at the growth that they had before I got there to after, it was insane. Leah was number 1 in the country for the entire season in the javelin. Like, Merrick Sandville went from 9 meters to throwing 14 and a half meters in the weight throw in 1 year, earned all conference. Rob Malillo qualified for nationals basically first meet of the season, topped a 60-meter throw. Like,
Damn.
So the point I'm trying to get at is, like, and it's kind of tied together, you already knew the culture, but you got to continue it. And like, that's just something I feel like it's an honor and a pleasure to be a part. And like, that's kind of where like legacy of a program comes in. Like, we're all alumni for somewhere, and we all want to see that program continue and be better than when we had it. So like, to be a part of that, that's something huge for me, you know?
No, I agree with you on that, because that's like literally the same thing I say in my parent meeting every single year is, look, I'm alumni of this school. I've literally been in your children's shoes. I was an athlete at this school, you know, I was a student at this school. I grew up at this school. Here I am now coaching at this school. You know, so I can literally, when I tell the kids, I have been in your shoes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I can literally say that because I was a part of that school's culture, even as a kid their age. Yes, has it changed over the years? Drastically. The teachers have changed, stuff like that, principals, everything and stuff. But still, I understand the point they're coming from. So, like, and I think that has a huge play too, is what I always tell the kids is, I'm human too. Like, don't think because I'm an adult, like, I don't understand where you're coming from. I just have more knowledge than you because I've lived longer. You know,
Right.
so that's another thing too, is like trying to tell these kids, look, you can come and tell me things. You can come and have conversations with me about it. You may not always like what I say, but yes, I can be an extension of your parents, but in reality, like, I can also at the same time be truthful and honest with you if you're willing to take that to heart and try to be a better person. And that's another thing. Just because you're a track and field athlete, I don't expect all of you to get a college scholarship. Is that the ultimate goal? Yes. But if you don't want to go track and field beyond college, guess what? These skills you learn as an athlete are skills that are going to take you through life lessons anywhere in the world. Like, it applies. It does.
Yeah. You know, listening to all these, like trying to think of which one is an athlete and which one is a coach, right? There were honestly 2 as an athlete. I couldn't decide between them. One, I'm pretty sure James will feel me on this one. Every year we would go to this invite called the Litchfield Invitational, and we had friends that went to other schools in the conference, and we all got really close. But you know, this group would end up being like the core group of studs, like through their 4 years, right? I mean, these were your inevitable conference medalists, and they go to regionals, and we had different divisions within our conference. So like you'd have people that were going to like the D8, or I should say the D4 and the D3 state meets. So I mean, you could have multiple different regional people. But I remember one of the athletes' parents from one school and one of the athletes' parents from another school, like our freshman year, they came and they did like a smoker down by the throws area.
Oh,
And the other one did like a grill. Oh yeah. And we're just like, man, this is awesome. You guys, like, everyone should do something like this. Well, by the time I graduated, you had, of the 8 schools in our conference, 7 of them would be at this meet. And so you just had all these different throwers' parents lined up right next to each other, next to the throws.
love
And so the
that.
throwers would just grab a plate and they just work their way down the lines. Hey, how are things? How's the family? Good to
Yeah.
see you guys. Man, I think,
Throwers got to eat too. Throwers got to eat.
man, somebody brought out brisket one year. I was like, holy smokes. Like, I mean, like they got there the night before they set up. I mean, it was just crazy. But that was a cool one because it connected not just our team, but it connected this group of throwers from around the area too,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
I
just
love that.
all of us in that shared struggle with our different schools. But the other one that stuck out as an athlete, though, was in my high school. We had a big focus on our dual meet season. So in our conference, if you wanted to win the conference, you had to gain points based on how you did in the dual meets, and then points based on how you did in the conference championship. So you got 2 points for every win, 1 point for a tie, and 0 for a loss. And then you got 1 point for each team you beat at the conference meet, which essentially meant you could finish 7-0 and then finish as low as 4th in the conference meet and still win the conference.
Bro, that's
Like,
insane.
it was crazy. Well, every every week before our dual meets, our head coach and our assistant coach would come out and they do the rundown. Here is the optimistic, here is the pessimistic, and here's the realistic of what we think we can score in every event all the way through.
Mhm.
Everyone had to listen to how everyone else was supposed to score. And throughout the meet, we'd go through and be like, hey, did you get your 3 points? Hey, did you finish first? Like, we knew exactly where we needed to be, kind of like a game plan for a football team, right? It's like, did we achieve the things we need to do throughout each phase of the meet to come away with our win, right? And so that was cool because everyone started going over to everyone all the time and just saying, hey, like, you've got to get to this point. You've got to hit this. Like, we got to get ahead of this person. And they didn't know the distances or the heights or the times, but they knew the places. So they knew, hey, we've got to get this. It made us a more engaged, but also just passionate group of athletes that really cared not just about our performance, but about how other people performed for the good of all of us, right?
I like that a lot.
And as a coach, I mean, I like as a thrower, like when I was just coaching throws, we would do like a throws giving every year, which was always fun. It was a great time. But there was one memory though that sticks out more than any other. I was actually coaching at what's now Rochester Christian University, and we were on our way back from, I think it was like the conference championship meet, and this group of athletes had gone through a ton. I mean, they had gone through having not a whole lot of like faith and trust in them, and like some small event groups. Like we had one athlete who, when they started there, was like the only sprinter there, and by the time they graduated, they had now been able to do a relay. And it may sound like a small thing, but like just that journey that these groups of athletes went through in this was really cool. And we're on the way back on the bus. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Chris Brown Christmas movie, This Christmas, right? But there's this scene at the end where they're playing this song, da 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 da, and everyone's doing a little dance line through it, right? We had athletes dancing up and down the aisle to that same song on our way back home. And then the coaches got in, they're dancing too. And it was one of those moments I was like, this is so cool. I mean, and people who were normally just standoffish were the ones that were jumping up there too and getting their friends involved with it. And I was like, man, this is such a cool memory. People are not going to believe this. And then a few months later, one of our athletes who had been trying to do like a mini documentary had that as like the ending clip, like when credits were playing in his little documentary. So here's just all of us doing this thing. And Adrian knows we had a sprinter there, Brett Malinowski. He was a great young man. Good sprinter, better person, right? He had some hamstring issues, but he was a strong leader in that group. And I remember telling him about it, and he's just like, "Are you kidding me? They got that?" And they still kind of connect, and we still keep in touch here and there with a lot of those kids. But it just seeing everyone be joyous with each other, seeing everyone buy into each other on that bus ride home. I mean, that was huge. Like the previous year, we didn't have buses. There wasn't the funding for it, right? And then we had grown and we'd gotten buses, and it was like just the metamorphosis that happened for that group, not just on the track, but in their lives, was just huge. So I think that was my biggest one.
Yeah, your throws giving is pretty much like my pole vault summit. Like I push all halters, try to go every year. And it's not just to better them as athletes in pole vault, but like it's just such a team bonding experience that you can't explain and can't express unless you were actually there. I bring my Switch up. We play Mario Party in my room every year. I buy breakfast items because all the restaurants are busy. So they come and have breakfast in my room each and every morning. Like it's just a different bonding that you just can't get anywhere else.
That's where I'm jealous of distance runners having cross country camp in the fall.
Yes.
I love the fact they do that. And a couple years ago, I don't remember if it was MSU or not. It might have been. So Adrian, you might be able to correct me on this if I'm wrong on this. But I think it was MSU that didn't just take their cross runners up north for camp. They actually took their whole squad up.
Oh.
And they had sprinters and jumpers and throwers who were also doing activities and building. And
That's kind of dope.
Like that to me was super, super cool that they would do that. Because those times are just like, I mean, you can make all the money in the world, spend it all, gain it all back. But if you waste your time, you can never get it back. So you got to spend it wisely.
I like that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that does it so far for our workout. Now it's time for the cool down and a little bit of a rapid fire with the holiday season right upon us. Let's talk about what presents you'd give out to your event group and what lumps of coal some naughty individuals might be getting. So who wants to kick us off?
All right, I'm throwing lumps of coal. I'm still going to be throwing lumps of coal as strength coaches. I'm ready for it. Listen, argue with your mama. I don't care. Argue with your bald head auntie. I'm still throwing. Because y'all know strength coaches. I'm big and strong. No, you're an idiot that can lift stuff and can't move 3 feet. Why am I going to listen to someone who's never ran 5 meters in their life? No, get out of here. No. No. Next.
All right, who's next?
I'll go. I'm throwing lumps of coal at all of my kids, past and present, that come to practice with no shoes. You guys are college kids. Wear your spikes. Wear your trainers. How could you forget the most important thing in our event? So I'm throwing lumps of coal.
Given to you in college. Sorry, rant.
Literally. So I'm throwing lumps of coal because I can't do it anymore.
Okay. Any gifts you would give your event group, Coach Ramel?
Oh, gifts. They are sweet, so I don't know. I'll give them cake or something. They
Maybe
like
strong hamstrings?
Oh, listen, it's funny. I got a couple there. Like, I'm just gonna go amputate things and become a Paralympian. I'm like, I think it's a little more work than that, but I think you think it's the easy route. You're wrong. But yeah, I definitely give some hamstring, some hips, some shins. Yeah, I give them some of those.
Okay, Megan.
Damn. My presence would be just money for you to buy poles so you have a safe environment. Like, I hate to say it, but spending $1,000 on just one pole sucks. Some programs can only buy like 1 to 2 poles a year a season, and that's not enough. I usually have to buy like when I buy my equipment and I'm buying a new pole, I always buy a pole that's like 2 steps ahead of what they need, so that way they don't outgrow it so quickly. And that's what I have to because that's all I can budget for, and it sucks. It's not safe for my athletes, but I have to look at the long haul. Yes, it's going to take a lot longer for them to progress onto it. Coal? Oh, what coal would I throw at a vaulter? Ooh, sprint workouts. They just always think, oh, I don't need sprint workouts. Nah, those are like, I don't need a sprint. That's what I would throw at them. Sprint workouts is cool because they hate it, but
Ooh.
it's not.
That is fair. James, what about you, sir?
Wow. All right. So for every thrower that's out there who doesn't have a throws facility, and I know that's at least half the country, my gift, especially to my cane throwers, throws facility. The other one for not only my athletes, but everybody else that's out there throwing, giving you guys a little bit confidence for your season coming up. Cole. Now I'm not in a cold giving mood. I'm in a very, just, very giving mood.
At least you're
How about
honest.
that? You don't want me to be honest.
The Jersey side's gonna come out if he's honest, y'all.
No. But seriously, I'm in a giving mood, everybody. Seriously.
Fair enough. All right. Coach Kegel?
All right, so I guess I got a couple answers here because I coach a little bit of everything right at this point. But for the throwers, I'm gonna make some people proud here. I'm definitely getting them some sort of throwing cage that they can throw all of their events in. That's definitely number one on the list. I'm getting the jumpers some actual real sand and something to cover it, like because the stuff they're jumping on is frozen. It leaks into there, man. It is hard as a rock, like when they hit. But yeah, I definitely give that to them, and I would give the whole team shoes. That's another thing because they don't get any shoes here. We're gonna work on that. We're gonna get it right for them, but because they deserve that, they work too hard for that. Not everybody can afford it. In terms of coal, I'm not really in a coal giving mood right now. I've given out a couple pieces of coal recently. That's all I can say at this point. So the coal's already been delivered. And yeah, there's no more coal to be given. It's already been out there. So
I'm giving my coal to John. He took my idea about being in a giving mood. Kidding,
Okay.
John. Love you.
All right. I think if I were going to give out a gift and okay. Strong back for anyone that has to throw weight. Strong elbows for anyone that has to throw jav, and strong knees for anyone that has to do triple jump.
All accurate.
Those are my gifts I'm giving out this holiday season. As for my lumps of coal, people who do the I'm going to wind up 500 million times because it's going to help me throw farther. People who think that the bucket of chalk should be a shower of chalk and not just applied generously, you don't need to bathe in it. All right? You're fine. Okay? And last, and I really hate to say this. I'm going to get heat for this one, but it's okay. Race walk?
Well, I need I need a follow up.
I'm giving you a lump of coal for that one. I'm down for the race.
I need a follow up. I need more emphasis.
If you've had to watch race walk at a meet where it takes half an hour and everyone leaves and balances their checkbook and then comes back, I look, it is a very difficult event to do. I'm not going to say it's not because I know that most people couldn't do it. However, if your one event takes a half hour in the middle of a thing that talks about speed and power, it probably needs a lump of coal.
So Are you
I'm
telling me
sorry.
that like you've been to a meet where race walk is in like the middle of the meet?
NAIA national championships,
For
I've
what?
seen it too. I've seen it too.
the national championships for NAIA.
Do you feel like they're words are hard. How can I explain this? Like, do you feel like don't laugh at me, Adrian. You too are. Do you feel like based on how the schedule is for the meet that like they're like we need a rest period somewhere, let's input the race walk, like is it like that scenario? Okay. See, that makes sense then. Like, I get it, the lump of coal and stuff, but like, recovery wise, Sean, we should know better. They do not deserve that lump of coal. It's recovery for our athletes in other events.
Think about what you just said. Yes. Hey, get the recovery kids out here so our kids can rest. Go, shoot, do your thing. You've essentially just said that they're expendable because they're a recovery tool.
I mean,
Like,
About the race walk, because it is now those that are actually good at it, not the ones you just throw in it because they have nothing else to do.
Yes,
They're
yes.
good at it, so I don't see them as a recovery. So those that are actually there to do it and do it well, I don't. It just might
Yes.
be a good time to do it. I don't know.
if you're
if
going
it's
to
in the
do
middle
it
of the
and
day,
compete in
95
it and compete at a high level, that's one thing. But like, if if you don't have the minimum number of people to do it at the event as well,
oh,
and you're like, here's race walk, just that's hard. That's hard for me to like not give a lump of coal to be like,
are you allowed to combine? Like, are they allowed to throw in like boys and girls together if it's what? Okay, then yeah, it can deserve its lump of coal if they can't combine them if it's small entries. I'll give you that
But
one.
that's not the event. That's the meet people and the organizations. You can't blame the event because there aren't enough people.
I mean, fair, but like, there's no rules against it. I don't know college, so like, is there rules
okay, fine.
against
The
combining for
organization
low
for-
entries?
Fine. I blame the meet organizers for not putting race walk either at the beginning or the end of the meet.
All right, I can feed my cold.
As we're continuing to get our speaker system set up, please enjoy this next half hour of race walk. Or as we tabulate results, please enjoy the race walk. Like those things could work. I'm just saying, just don't put it in the middle of a meet when everyone's like, yeah, let's go, and be like,
Nope.
and now the race walk. You literally see people walk up out of the stands because they know, oh, this is the time to go use the restroom. This is the time to, I mean, it's like halftime
It's
in a
intermission.
football game. It's halftime.
Sean, are you alluding to this being like elevator music in the background and being in an elevator?
I'm alluding to this as if the elevator doesn't even have music.
Damn. Sorry.
Like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've seen paint dry faster than some people race walk, right? And that's really mean to say. It's really mean to say. And again, if you're a race walker out there, hate me, that's fine. I get it. But I can't do your event. I can't. I'm not good at it. I never will be. You're very talented in what you do. But it's not exciting. It's not. I mean, maybe elite level, yes. Elite level race walking, yes, because there are people right there next to it in it. But when it's not elite level, at least NASCAR has crashes. Like,
Oh, look, they're making another left turn and another left turn.
seriously,
Sorry.
it's like
Sean,
it's like
Sean,
when I watched.
Injuries would be if they crashed at a race walk. Seriously, it's like slow
Sean,
motion.
come on.
Let's be
But
honest.
Sean,
Yeah.
it's like Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last.
I think everyone's last in that one, my friend.
Well,
I'm not going to drink a drink right now. I'm going to spit it out.
And lastly, the last lump of coal I'm giving out is to myself for dissing on race walking.
that's fair.
If you're a race walker out there, again, much love, and we poke and fun and jest, but we wish you all the best of luck on this upcoming season and hope that you walk fast. All right. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for another awesome episode here of the Emerging Elite Podcast. For all of our awesome hosts, Coach Williams, Coach Cooper, Coach Kegel, and our amazing guests, Adrian Bazemore and James Lugansland, I want to make sure I got it right because I was about to mess it up.
You said it perfectly.
Perfect. For all of us here at the Emerging Elite Podcast, we want to wish all of you and yours very happy and safe holidays, and we'll see you next time.